Calendar for the day. The first bill on the calendar for the day is Senate File 4062. The clerk will report the bill.
Senate File number 4062, number 1 on the calendar for the day, an act relating to state government appropriating money for environment, natural resources, and tourism, the unofficial engrossment.
I recognize the author of the bill, Representative Hansen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. Senate File 4062 is the Omnibus Environment, Finance, and Policy Bill. I want to make sure before we start that we thank some very important people. Janelle Taylor and Bob Eliff from House Research, Fiscal Analyst Brad Hagemeyer, Committee Administrator Peter Strohmeyer, Committee Legislative Assistant Scotland Cracker, and partisan researchers Molly Peterson and Amy Zipko. Thank you for your work. Very important. We could not do this job without our staff. This is the Environment and Natural Resources Omnibus Bill. This bill has a net general fund target of $240 million for the FY22-23 biennium. It appropriates $9.6 million from additional funds. For FY24 biennium, the bill adds $35 million from the general fund and $31.9 million from other funds. Members, why do we have this bill here? What does it do? Well, it fixes past wrongs, rights past wrongs, some going back to 2003 and 2005. It repays the Metropolitan Landfill Contingency Action Act Trust with interest. This fund was raided during the Pawlenty administration and doesn't have enough money to maintain and clean up closed landfill sites. This is a Representative Richardson bill, and $29.055 million of one-time money are used to restore that fund, those fees that were paid by folks in the metro area for closed landfills. It rededicates the lottery and lieu tax to its intended purpose of funding our natural resources. For this also was raided in the Pawlenty administration to balance the budget. So when this was established in the late 1990s, 97% of the lottery and lieu fund, the tax, went into environmental programming. In 03 and 05, it had a net effect of a cut down to about 72%. So we're restoring that funding in the tails, in ongoing funding, from the general fund back to those intended purposes. We're not changing where the money goes. We're just putting money back into that fund the way it was intended to the 97%. We make significant investments in conservation. $30 million for the Conservation Reserve Enhancement Program. This program brings in money from the federal government. Often in the past we've thought about the acre amount, but actually it is a dollar contract, and we can enhance Conservation Reserve Program. What that'll do is help out with wildlife, water quality, pollinators, and more importantly, climate change. Those long-term easements provide for carbon storage in the ground. And we have the soil and water districts who can put those projects in the ground and make them last. We also provide $10 million for a CRP state incentive. We have a number of provisions relating to CWD and other contaminants. So I am going to go to Representative Eklund to talk about our CWD investments.
The representative from Couchiching, Representative Eklund.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. So here we are talking about chronic wasting disease again. But you know, we found a live, or I mean, not, it's dead, but it was in the wild herd in Itasca County. That's concerning. So this chronic wasting disease bill has several sections in it, several parts to it. Number one, we're prohibiting running at large. It allows a person during a legal authorized season to shoot a captive whitetail cervid that has escaped and not face any consequences, and the owner will have to pay for the test of that animal if in fact they do shoot one during the season. Provides fencing, redundant fencing. You know, last year, members, I got chastised on the House floor because it's blame the farmer. No, we're not blaming the farmer. We just want to work with the farmers to make sure that this is done right. I have no desire to shut down the cervid industry. It can provide valuable input to our economy around the state, but let's do it right. Let's make sure that we get things done right. Mandatory surveillance of chronic wasting disease and depopulation of the herd if it's found. That only makes sense. Folks, we don't know how long prions last in the environment. When we have a positive herd found in the state of Minnesota, it needs to be depopulated and taken care of. Importation of captive cervid from other states. It just prohibits the importation if it's come from if there's been a positive test from that farm in whatever other state they're trying to import the animal from. I think the biggest thing that we have in this bill, members, is we've got new technology. It has not been approved by the FDA, but it's getting close. But we have technology that we can live test our captive cervids now to find out if they're positive, and if it is, what mitigation factors we have. So we have appropriation in the bill for live testing to find out if in fact we do have a problem with captive cervids and chronic wasting disease in the state of Minnesota. And this will accomplish two things. If we do have a problem, let's take care of it, and if we don't have a problem, we can find out that our captive cervid industry is doing things the right way. And that's all that I'm looking for, is to make sure things are done the right way. And then probably the biggest thing is we're transferring the full authority to the Department of Natural Resources. And I think if we take a look at what's going on now with the Board of Animal Health and the DNR having co-authority, they're working towards the right direction, but the Board of Animal Health is also dealing with another little issue right now, the high-path avian influenza. Let's let them do their job, make sure that we take care of our poultry industry in the state of Minnesota, and let's let the DNR do their job. So members, this is whitetail hunting in the state of Minnesota is a $500 million a year industry. It's huge. And I don't know how many deer hunters are on the House floor today, but I hunt. My wife wonders really why I buy a license. I think it's been 7 years since I shot a deer, but I buy a license every year to help the DNR out with their fees anyway. So this is good language, and I want to rest people assured that I'm not blaming the farmer. But when we get down to taking care of protecting our wild herd, we must take all means possible to make sure that happens. So thank you, members, and I believe it goes to Representative Wozniak to talk about PFAS issues.
To the representative from Ramsey, Representative Wozniak.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So PFAS are used in many consumer products, often because of their grease or water-resistant properties. They're persistent in the environment, highly mobile, and some PFAS bioaccumulate in human bodies. These chemicals have no known degradation pathways in the environment, which means that they stay in surface water, groundwater, wildlife, and people's bodies, and are passed down through generations from mother to child through umbilical cord blood and breastfeeding. The Agency for Toxic Substances and Disease Registry at the CDC suggests that PFAS has been linked to pregnancy-induced hypertension and preeclampsia, liver damage, increased cholesterol, increased risk of thyroid disease, decreased antibody response to vaccines, increased risk of asthma, decreased fertility, and decreased birth weight. The best way to prevent these negative health impacts and the continued environmental contamination is to stop using products that have these chemicals in them. So we're doing that in this bill in Article 4. The bill prohibits the manufacture, distribution, and sale of several products, including home and commercial furnishings, cookware, cosmetics, children's products, ski wax, and firefighting foam. The bill also requires manufacturers of products with intentionally added PFAS to file a disclosure notice that includes a description of the product, what function is being performed by adding PFAS, the amount and types of PFAS added, and contact information for the manufacturer. This would be publicly available so that consumers know which products PFAS is in, which products they might be using that include PFAS. There's also some requirements for the Department of Health to set water quality standards in here for certain PFAS. And this is a prevalent chemical. It's pretty much everywhere at this point in everyone's bodies. It's very toxic and harmful, and we're making an attempt here to ban it in a lot of products so that we don't have the continued negative health impacts and the environmental risks. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
To the author of the bill, Representative Hansen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Representative Eklund and Representative Wozniak. So again, the bill is righting past wrongs, makes a significant investment in conservation, addresses contaminants like PFAS, forever chemicals, lead, cadmium, and other contaminants. And then it also addresses climate change. It has various programs that have a dual effect, conservation and helping out with climate change. Emerald ash borer, we have $11 million. $11 million. Those of you who've had in your communities emerald ash borer, and we've been talking about this, Representative Murphy, I think we've been talking about emerald ash borer since 2009. We have a significant investment in emerald ash borer. That's grants to communities, money for your cities to help address emerald ash borer. That means taking down trees and putting in new trees and putting in trees that are more diverse and more resilient. Pollinators. We have funding for the popular Lawns to Legumes program, probably the most popular environmental program created in the last 3 years. Over 1,600 Minnesota families on a waiting list to invest in changing their lawns from a traditional lawn to a pollinator lawn. For very little money, some of them only want technical assistance, but it takes money to provide that technical assistance. We have a multifamily composting pilot program, Representative Agbaje, a zero waste grant program, Representative Hollins, the Minnesota Outdoor Recreation Office, Representative Davney, tourism. As we come out of COVID, with one-time money, we provide over $10 million in grants to communities. So that's for your small town festivals, those are for events. That's to help promote tourism, to help jumpstart that economy as we come out of COVID. Tourism is a huge component of Minnesota, and having your community help promote those events in your communities, we have the dollars for that, $10 million in this bill. Boater education, Representative Cagle, safety education, feedlot financial assurance, and then a variety of policy provisions. There are agency funding projects throughout. You can read that in the bill. And I also want to highlight some of the smaller agencies. Often we don't talk about the Conservation Corps of Minnesota. We provide $500,000 to the Conservation Corps of Minnesota. Those are often when there is a weather event, it's the Conservation Corps that's on site right away. And those efforts of young people in the Conservation Corps have lifelong effects. I think Representative Eklund used to be in the Conservation Corps a couple years ago. Metropolitan Council, we provide funding, again, for infrastructure, whether it's inflow infiltration or lead service lines. The Zoological Board, we provide some money to continue groundbreaking research at the Minnesota Zoo, and $500,000 for the Science Museum. Again, the Science Museum, a critical thing for education in Minnesota. We're investing in the Science Museum to help the next generation learn more about the environment. We also provide some money to the University of Minnesota for a soil health action plan.